spend a lot of my time on just trying to help other people find the blessings of God that I have found. I give because the Lord told me to give, but more than that, I give here because this is our town. The town doesn't owe me anything. I grew up here, and I was blessed to grow up here, and it's a good place to be.
By the grace of God, all of us are called to offer that hope, and a life can be changed, and our country can be saved.
Tonight on The 7, we're remembering Grand Rapids philanthropist and businessman Richard DeVos Sr.
The patriarch of the DeVos family died this morning. We're dedicating the next half hour to honoring the legacy that he leaves behind in West Michigan. His family tells us that he died from complications from an infection. He was surrounded by his family at home in Ada.
In a statement, they focused on Rich's life, saying that we are deeply grateful and blessed beyond measure to have been loved unconditionally, raised, mentored, and inspired by him. He was a role model unlike any other. His death comes less than a year after his wife Helen passed away.
Tonight, we're live in the heart of downtown Grand Rapids, a city where you cannot miss DeVos's impact. From his family's name on medical buildings, hotels, and centers for performing arts.
We start tonight with a look back at his decades of service to West Michigan.
I've told all my children, this is our town, and you are responsible for it. You know, we all have a place we got to honor and take care of. This is your place to take care of. That's the way I feel about this town.
A Grand Rapids man his whole life, businessman and philanthropist Richard DeVos dedicated himself to making West Michigan a better place. DeVos was born March 4th, 1926. He attended Grand Rapids Christian High School along with lifelong friend Jay Van Andel. As teenagers, DeVos agreed to pay Van Andel 25 cents a week for a ride to and from school. DeVos attended Calvin College before serving in the Army Air Corps during World War II. Following the war, DeVos and Van Andel reunited, owning and operating Wolverine Air Service, teaching others how to fly. They expanded their business interests, opening the first drive-through restaurant in the area. They moved on to other businesses, forming the J. Rye Corporation in 1949 to distribute Nutrilite. In 1959, the men started a new company in the basement of their Grand Rapids homes. They called it Amway, short for American Way. Their first product was called LOC, or Liquid Organic Cleaner.
The first founding principle of this business is that our door is open to anyone. The uneducated, the impoverished, the people who don't speak well, our doors are open.
Growing Amway from a company in their basement to a worldwide corporation was not easy.
So those were the hard days where we had to stand up for this business and fight for it when other people accused us of wrongdoing or just not running the business correctly. We've proven this business. Mainly we've proven it works for people who work it.
More than 50 years later, Amway is one of the world's largest direct selling businesses, operating in more than 100 countries. Rich DeVos married Helen Van Wessep of Grand Rapids in 1953. Together, they raised 3 sons and a daughter. As the family grew, so did the DeVos commitment to West Michigan. In 1978, Amway purchased the historic Pantland Hotel and transformed the building into a 5-star facility, renaming it the Amway Grand Plaza Hotel.
If I'm going to build a hotel, I'm going to build a nice hotel.
In 2007, the company opened a long-talked-about second hotel across the street, the JW Marriott. DeVos Hall, the first major concert hall in Grand Rapids, opened in 1980. 1993 saw the opening of the Helen DeVos Children's Hospital, in part due to the $5 million gift from Rich and Helen DeVos. 18 years later, the hospital expanded into a new $286 million, 14-floor, state-of-the-art facility and is a source of pride for the family.
Our joy of watching the Helen DeVos Children's Hospital happen is greater than any benefit you receive from it.
Along with Amway, the other family business is basketball. In 1991, DeVos purchased the Orlando Magic, the arena's appropriate name, the Amway Center. In Grand Rapids, Rich DeVos's philanthropy helped countless organizations, including DeVos Place in 2003 and the Secchia Center, which houses MSU's College of Human Medicine.
And it isn't in grandiose speeches. It is in simple words of encouragement, a pat on the back, a hand on the shoulder, a little, you can do it. And a life can be changed, and our country can be saved.
A renowned motivational speaker, Rich DeVos, appeared before many groups expounding the virtues of free enterprise and a can-do attitude. But it is the company he built with his friend and the passion they shared for their community that will be their lasting legacy in Grand Rapids.
And so it is with the achievements we enjoy today. We enjoy them together because we have managed to overcome the things that normally break people apart. And Dick was talking about Jay's Museum or the hospital over here. All those are how we extend ourselves as a family into a broader community and around this country.
Family was important to Rich DeVos. Today, his son Doug and Jay's son Steve run Amway with participation from other members of the family. As the two friends grew older, both experienced health problems. Jay Van Andel battled Parkinson's disease for many years before passing away in December of 2004. Rich DeVos had his own health issues. In 1992, he suffered a heart attack. 1 week later, he underwent triple bypass surgery, his second surgery in 10 years. Early in 1997, DeVos and wife Helen moved to London for a heart transplant. The transplant was a success, and Rich DeVos came back to the company and the community he loved. DeVos became an advocate of organ donation, helping create the Richard DeVos Heart and Lung Transplant Program at Spectrum Health. The program's first heart transplant was performed in 2010. His was a spirit of giving that has benefited West Michigan in countless ways.
I give because the Lord told me to give, but more than that, I give here because this is our town. The town doesn't owe me anything. I grew up here, and I was blessed to grow up here, and it's a good place to be.
Rich DeVos had a talent for creating opportunity from Amway to Grand Vision and later Grand Action when a group of Grand Rapids movers and shakers helped revitalize downtown Grand Rapids.
24-hour News 8's Joe LaFurgey is live in Grand Rapids with a look at Rich DeVos's vision and how he made it work. Joe?
Grand Valley State University, both the Allendale campus and right here in downtown Grand Rapids, just one example of Richard DeVos's legacy. Grand Valley State University President Emeritus Aaron Don Lubbers says part of Rich DeVos's vision for Grand Rapids was to develop a place for higher learning that was accessible to all people in the Grand Rapids area.
He could see disadvantaged people who needed some help, and they needed a state university where they were because they couldn't go somewhere else.
Lubbers, who served as Grand Valley State's president from 1969 to 2001, became friends with one of the school's biggest benefactors. Today he talked about the loss of that friend and his ability to convince others to see his vision, a vision that helped change the face of Grand Rapids.
He liked being in a leadership role where he could bring other people to the table. That was one of his great satisfactions.
Rich was always always thinking about tomorrow, not so much about yesterday.
David Fry, who co-founded Grand Action, the end result of DeVos's grand vision that helped form the public-private partnerships that have made Grand Rapids the envy of so many other communities, also reflected on the loss of Richard DeVos.
It's a day to celebrate a life fully lived and to be honored.
Grand Valley State University flags on both campuses placed at half-staff this afternoon. And tonight, if you're downtown or on the Allendale campus, look up at the Carolyn Tower. They will be bathed in Laker blue in honor of Rich DeVos. Live in Grand Rapids tonight, Joe LaFurgey, 24-Hour News 8.
Thank you, Joe. Rich DeVos famously co-founded Amway with Jay Van Andel nearly 60 years ago.
24-Hour News 8's Heather Walker spoke with Jay's son, Steve Van Andel, who says Rich's presence will be deeply missed.
It's the beginning of a new era. Both founders have passed, and although the second generation has taken the reins over years ago, it still provides a void. And today I spoke with Jay Van Andel's son, Steve, about that.
What does his loss mean to the company? I mean, I know he's been retired since, what, 93, but I have to imagine he still kind of maybe had said a few things.
Always, but I think, again, he never quit being a great motivator of the business. And so by that, I mean, for people. I think he has such a great heart, and people knew that. If he walked into a room, everybody smiled. If he walks into a room, everybody all of a sudden gets optimistic and starts wanting to listen to his experience and what he has to say. And that's just who Rich was. He had a great heart to give to people.
Staff was notified about his passing late this morning around the same time it was made public. In the last few minutes, the process to lower the flags has started. All the flags in front of the headquarters of Amway will remain lowered until Saturday. And also in the lobby of Amway is a memorial talking about how Rich would sign his letters, "Love ya, Rich," saying he signed it that way because he meant it. Reporting in Ada, Heather Walker, 24-Hour News 8.
And we wanted to share this. Rich DeVos' son, Doug, shared some family photos online today, including this gem, showing Rich DeVos with a band. Doug writing that his dad was genuine, humble, and funny.
When we return, more on how Rich is being remembered tonight and a look at his impact on the arts and culture of West Michigan. Stay with us. And welcome back, everyone, to the 7 o'clock as we dedicate our show tonight to honoring Rich DeVos.
He's a man who will be remembered for his work ethic and strong values. 24-Hour News 8's Ken Kolker live in Washington, D.C. tonight, where he caught up with a couple of Michigan lawmakers who spoke highly of Rich. Ken?
Now, we're in a U.S. House hearing involving West Michigan lawmakers when news broke of Mr. DeVos's passing. Now we caught up with Congressman Tim Walberg and Fred Upton to talk about his legacy.
Rich DeVos was an icon for community involvement, impact, rolling up his sleeves, his money belt, everything in helping community efforts. He was a guy that had strong convictions, strong principles, but a guy that would work with almost anybody to make sure things move forward.
One of the best philanthropic individuals around. He really cared with a passion. He had great values, obviously employed thousands and thousands of people. He made a real impact.
Now we also, Vice President Mike Pence was tweeting tonight, quote unquote, saddened to hear of the passing of Richard DeVos, a towering figure in American business and conservative politics. DeVos was a generous philanthropist and pillar of the community. Back to you.
All right, Ken Kolker in D.C. tonight, there for the PFAS hearings, but word of that news breaking during that hearing and getting reaction from Michigan lawmakers. Coming up, we're going to take a look at Mr. DeVos's impact on the arts in West Michigan. Well, as we've mentioned, you certainly don't have to look far to find the impact of the DeVos family here in West Michigan.
One of the things Richard and his wife Helen supported was arts and culture. Tonight, David Hooker, the president and CEO of Frederick Meyer Gardens, and Marcelo Leninger, the music director for the Grand Rapids Symphony, are here to discuss his legacy. Thank you both for joining us. David, let's start with you. Let's talk a little bit about the impact about the Japanese gardens at Meyer Gardens. Absolutely gorgeous.
It's been extraordinary. For me personally, to work with the DeVos family, Rich and Helen, and bringing that garden to life was just an amazing experience. When the garden opened, people would go in there and they'd go, wow, this is really a special place, a place of contemplation, a place of joy, a place to practice your faith. And when we asked Mr. DeVos for the gift to create this garden, you know, we told him all about what a Japanese garden is. But what resonated with him was how people could go in there and experience joy. And it was just an amazing moment for me to be part of that.
Absolutely, it is gorgeous, the generosity there. Helping so many people in West Michigan really have that peace when you go into that section of Meyer Gardens.
And overall, he was very enthusiastic, encouraging of the arts. In fact, if you look at the pie chart of what he donated, arts was second behind health, and almost a third of what he gave over his life went to the arts. And as a patron of the arts, Marcelo, you must have certainly recognized a city the size of Grand Rapids to have these world-class facilities like the Symphony. It's so important to have a benefactor like Mr. DeVos.
Absolutely. I mean, to have the power of the system we have here and what he did for this community, it's absolutely incredible. And it was a man with a vision. And we're following that vision and his legacy throughout our education programs and really giving to people and being in this community. So it's because of him we have what we have, and I'm proud of being part of this community.
The generosity is really
I always want to know the backstory. How did he get? How did Fred get DeVos, Rich DeVos, to donate that money for the garden?
Oh, it's a great question. When we started the project, it was actually going to be the Lena Meyer garden, and Fred's son Hank suggested that maybe what we should do is go see Rich and Helen DeVos about a gift, and we did that. And what was amazing when we sat down to talk to Rich and ask him for this amazing gift to make this possible, before we could get to that, we talked about family, we talked about faith, we talked about the community, we talked a little bit about politics. I think we talked for 45 minutes before we got to the question of the garden.
Right, before the checkbook came.
But, you know, as your piece beforehand talked about, he was interested in people.
Yeah.
And
That's
that
right.
so showed in what our conversation was at that time, and it made an amazing impression on me.
His enthusiasm is about people
It
and
really was.
enjoying life. Yeah.
And spending money, thankfully.
Yes,
for the
yes,
arts
here.
in West Michigan. David Hooker with the Gardens, Marcella Lenninger with the Symphony. Thank you both for coming in tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
We'll be right back.
It's time for Garrett's Appliance semi-annual tent sale. This week only, get huge savings on floor samples, closeout models, one-of-a-kind, and more. Maytag and Whirlpool appliances are on sale too. It's a tent full of bargains, including gas grills and scratch and dent models for the cottage. For best selection, come early. It's all under the tent this week only through Saturday. Garrett's Appliance, great products and great service for 3 generations. Tent sale in progress only at the Wyoming store, corner of 28th and Byron Center Southwest.
We continue to be America's best-selling brand because of our great lineup and unbelievable deals. Like leasing a new Escape for just $159 a month at your neighborhood Michigan Ford store.
How do you show up? Do you just bring it? Or do you bring it all?
Focus.
Third row like a pro. GM employee program participants with a current GM lease. Use your Labor Day lease cash to get this low mileage lease on this GMC Acadia SLE1 for $199 per month. We are professional grade GMC.
It's really outrageous what's happening on the cost of medicine. This is not some luxury item. It may be the difference between whether you live or not. The price of prescription drugs is going up and up and up. Why? Because there are more drug company lobbyists than there are any other kind of lobbyists. The worst part of our system is when money gets ahead of people. And when they block us from simple things like negotiating the best price under Medicare. Really? That's wrong. I'm Debbie Stabenow, and I approve this message.
Todd Wenzel Chevrolet of Hudsonville needs your vehicle. During our Labor Day sales event, you'll get $5,000 minimum or $5,000 over Kelley Blue Book Fair condition when you trade up to a new Chevrolet. Get $5,000 for your trade and lease an Equinox for just $79 a month. Or lease a Silverado for only $149 a month with $5,000 more for your trade. Don't miss $5,000 minimum or $5,000 over Kelley Blue Book for your trade during the Labor Day sales event at Todd Wenzel Chevrolet. Visit us up I-196 in Hudsonville or shop toddwenzel.com.
Welcome to McDonald's. How can I help you?
Well, we're running a little bit late this morning, so...
I am. I'll go when you are.
1 sausage McGriddles.
Egg and cheese?
Please. And a large coffee.
Cream.
2 sugars. That'll do it.
That'll done it.
Phew.
Phew.
Pair 2 breakfast sandwiches or small McCafe beverage for just $4.
Our coverage remembering Richard DeVos continues tonight. You're probably familiar with the Grand Rapids Children's Hospital named for his wife. But Richard and Helen's impact on the medical community goes even further.
24-hour News 8's Lindsay McComal is taking a look at how his own health struggles ultimately led to West Michigan medical advancements.
I always liked to plan, had made a lot of plans in my life, and now it looks like I'm going to have the opportunity to keep going with those plans.
That's Ron Bentley talking about being the first heart transplant recipient in Grand Rapids. This was 8 years ago, but more than a decade before Bentley's surgery, Rich DeVos was waiting for his own heart in London, sending a message back before the transplant.
You might remember me. I'm always the guy up front pitching for money. You thought that if you sent me over to Europe to get a new heart, you could get rid of me. Well, you didn't make it, did you?
After that successful surgery, DeVos returned to West Michigan to make organ transplants a priority for West Michigan Care.
We are very proud of the impact he's had on our heart and lung transplant program. It's called the Richard M. DeVos Heart and Lung Transplant Program. But he's also brought physicians here, exceptional physicians and researchers, so that we can continue to advance the care and the research and the academics so we can provide care locally.
As for me, I've had 70+ wonderful years. And if the Lord wants me to live a little longer, then he's opened this door to us. And possibly we can come back and hit you up for some more money in person again. And if not, I'll go to another place that he has preserved for me, a place called heaven.
Reporting along the Medical Mile in downtown Grand Rapids, Lindsay McComel, 24-Hour News 8.
Tonight at 11 o'clock, a man who worked for Rich for more than 30 years shares his memories of a boss who made everyone feel important. Plus, we have a look back at Rich's life posted right now at woodtv.com. We've compiled a lot of information there. Make sure and check that out on our website.
Yeah, his impact can't be overstated. The legacy that he leaves behind is a living legacy, obviously, as it continues on. We were lucky to have him.
That's for sure. Boy, a powerful man for sure, and such enthusiasm for life. Make sure and join us on our later newscasts on 24-Hour News 8 at 11.